I never imagined my life would read like a horror story. In late 2009, I was 9 months pregnant, 29, and finally choosing hope over every rough chapter I'd lived. My husband, PJ, and I were scraping by. Shelters, favors, odd days that blurred. But there was a quiet optimism blooming in me. I'd stand in the shelter's mirror, palm over my belly, feeling my daughter's kicks, and promising her we would do better than yesterday. Practical worries stalked me. Diapers, a crib, clothes, how to make any money last. So when a woman called the shelter saying she had access to donated baby supplies, clothes, a stroller, even a year of diapers, it sounded like grace arriving on time. She said her name was Stephanie. It felt like the world, for once, wanted me to catch a break. She picked me up before dawn on December 2nd, 2009. She had a warm smile and regular clothes, the kind of ordinary that makes you let your guard down. We drove out of D.C. into Maryland, small talk thinning into silence. Her hands clenched the steering wheel. She watched the road like it had wronged her. Neighborhoods thinned to tired buildings and empty sidewalks. When she pulled up to an apartment complex instead of a storage facility, I swallowed my hesitation. "Just have to grab something first," she said. I followed her upstairs. The door shut. The apartment was strangely bare, no photos, no life. A dingy living room, a small kitchen, a sense that the air itself was bracing for something. "Where are the baby supplies?" I asked, keeping my voice soft. She smiled without warmth, slid a plate and juice toward me, told me to relax. The chair felt cold against my legs. I took a bite. The first hit came like an explosion inside my skull. Searing white. The second blow split my forehead open. I folded to the floor, vision smeared in red and confusion. "What? Why?" I choked. She forced me flat, belly pinned uncomfortably against linoleum, my wrists yanked behind me. Tape ripped and tightened, ankles too. I tried to scream. A foul rag filled my mouth, tape sealing it. Every beat of my heart sounded like a countdown. She dragged me to a sparse bedroom. Futon on the floor, old TV, a dresser topped with nothing I could anchor to. I felt my baby flutter, fear mixed with fury. She gathered things from a duffel, knives, box cutter, towels, a bowl of water and ice. My body knew before my mind could bear it. She knelt close and spoke in a calm, almost instructional voice. "What I'm getting ready to do to you is not going to kill you." I shook my head so hard my vision doubled. Tape clamped tighter around the gag, a do-rag knotted my wrists again. She pressed play on the TV, Michael Jackson's "This Is It," cheerful rehearsal chatter filling the room, a soundtrack for something no human should ever hear. My shirt had ridden up, the box cutter hovered over my belly. I screamed into the cloth, the sound swallowed right there in my throat. The blade bit. I felt my body jerk against the bindings. A sound tore from me that I didn't recognize as my own. She wiped my skin with cold towels like a parody of care, then cut again. Pain washed everything white and then black at the edges. I thought of my baby, my daughter, hiding inside me, and I clung to that thought like a rope. She stopped, frustration crossing her face. She hadn't reached what she wanted, thank God. My mind grabbed at any strategy. I feigned fainting, exaggerated gagging, willed myself slack. It worked just enough. She paused. She tore tape from my head, yanked the wet rag free. I gasped air. It burned going in. "Please," I begged, voice raw. "You're going to kill us." For a moment, something flickered across her eyes. Doubt? Then she hardened. "Be quiet." The hours slid into each other and then into days, the longest 4 of my life. The wound on my stomach oozed, crusted, screamed every time I breathed. At night, she curled on the floor a few feet away, knife within reach, sleeping the sleep of someone who thought my life was hers to pause. She fed me barely enough. She dabbed at blood and wiped the floor like it was a messy kitchen. She peered through blinds as if a shadow might tell on her. Sometimes she stared through me, past me, toward a fantasy I could feel, a baby she'd already promised the world. I tried to make her see me, a wife, a daughter, a mother fighting for someone she hadn't yet met. "You can walk away," I told her softly. "Drop me at a hospital. You don't have to. This," she murmured. "It's too late." Sometimes her hands shook. Sometimes mine did. There was a boy asleep on the living room couch, her 17-year-old son. He'd helped tie me the first day, then stayed mostly out of sight. It told me two things. One, there was a witness, and two, even monsters live inside complicated households. On the third night, she tried again, a serrated kitchen knife this time. The pain was different, jagged, horrible. Fluid spilled, she smiled, thinking she'd reached what she wanted. The smell told her otherwise. She'd cut into my bladder. Fury twisted her face. She shouted at me like I was hiding my own baby. She grabbed my jaw with bloody fingers. "Where is she?" "Inside me," I rasped when I wrenched the gag free. "You're killing us." For the first time, I saw calculation topple into fear. She rebandaged me with torn sheets, forced water to my lips, then slumped on the carpet, eyes finally closing. The room went very still. Somewhere above us, a child laughed in another apartment. The sound felt like a message from a future I wanted. I felt a kick. Small, certain. "I'm here, Mama," I decided. Now. My wrists were cloth-bound instead of tape, my one small victory from complaining about circulation. I worked the knot slowly. Sweat and blood made my skin slick. The fabric scraped. My hand slipped free. I froze. Her breathing stayed heavy and even. I freed the other wrist, then my ankles. Sitting up shot fire through my core. I bit down on a scream. I pressed my palm hard over my belly, pinning the makeshift bandage, willing my body to hold. I crawled. I shook. I stood with the wall's help, swaying. The door was 10 slow yards through the living room. Her son slept on the couch, an arm dangling. I crept. The chain latch stuck and then gave with a metallic clink that sounded like thunder. The boy mumbled, "Mom?" I flung the door open and ran into the hall. Wrong way, dead end. I pounded on a neighbor's door with bloody fists. "Help! Help me!" Footsteps pounded the stairs. She appeared, knife in hand, mask gone, desperation naked. I kicked at her, wild and sloppy, but fueled by something bigger than strength. Her son grabbed at my legs. I fought like a cornered animal. The neighbor's door cracked open. A man in pajamas stared at me, at the blood, the ruined bandage, the unmistakable truth of what had been done. "Oh my God," he said. He stepped between me and them. Sirens wailed far off, and then closer. She fled, dragging her son. I collapsed, the neighbor catching me under the arms and easing me to the floor. "Stay with me," he said, pressing towels to my belly. Paramedics arrived, a woman's steady voice anchoring me while the world narrowed to beeps and bright lights and the rattle of the stretcher wheels. "We've got you," she said. "What's your name?" "Teka," I whispered through an oxygen mask. "My baby?" She tapped a monitor, strong heartbeat. I listened to that sound like a prayer. The hospital was motion and white light, questions I answered through gritted teeth, a chorus of surgical terms. I begged them to save my daughter. An anesthesiologist told me I might sleep. I wanted to protest, but a heavier mercy arrived. The last sound I heard was the beeping of 2 hearts and the thought, "Hold on, miracle." I woke to light through blinds and the beep of machines counting me back into the world. My body hurt everywhere, specifically where they'd put me back together. A hand held mine. "PJ, you're here," he kept saying, voice breaking. "You're okay." I croaked a single word that felt like a cliff edge. "Baby?" He smiled, the first true smile I'd seen in months. "She's okay. She's perfect." I cried a deep animal cry and didn't care who heard me. The nurses called her Miracle. I did too, out loud. They wheeled my bed to the NICU, and a nurse placed her into my arms. She was warm and small and more alive than anything I had ever touched. She blinked, and I saw my eyes looking back. I whispered her name into her hair and promised her the whole world plus tomorrow. Recovery was slow and humbling. Surgeons repaired my bladder and intestines, a jagged T-shaped scar stitched across my abdomen. Part emergency delivery, part evidence. The first time I stood, a nurse behind me with a chair, PJ in front with open arms. I took 3 shaky steps and felt like I'd climbed a mountain. Every day after that, I chased another inch. Nightmares came. The smell of linoleum, the metallic taste of the gag, the flicker of a rehearsal film turned wrong. A counselor helped me anchor inside the present. When panic snuck in, I squeezed PJ's hand 3 times. He'd make tea, rub my back, remind me of this room, this air, this baby breathing. When I dared to look at my scars in a full mirror, angry, uneven, I wept. PJ wrapped his arms around me, his palms gentle over the map of what I'd survived. "They're proof," he whispered. "You did the impossible." I decided not to hide them. They were the price and the proof of love. The community's kindness stunned me. Letters, tiny socks, money toward a safe apartment. I felt the scale tip back toward humanity. Discharge day was sunlight and camera flashes of memory in my mind. Nurses hugging us. A scrapbook with Miracle's tiny footprints. The doors sliding open and air that smelled like a promise. Months later, I faced her in court. Her real name had been printed in headlines. She looked small in a jumpsuit, but evil rarely announces itself with a horn. I told the judge, told the room, what she'd done, how the pain had built a second skeleton inside me, how I still woke in the middle of the night believing I was back on that floor. I asked her to look at me. She lifted her eyes and gave me nothing. That nothing told me everything. I said the words I needed to say, that she failed, that my daughter lived, that I lived, and that the life we were building would be stronger than her violence. When she lied, claiming I'd agreed to give up my child for money, I saw red. Deputies held me as I roared the truth. Shame didn't touch her. Time would. The judge handed down decades. It wasn't everything I wanted, but it was enough to breathe. Outside the courthouse, I held Miracle on my hip, and the press saw a mother who wouldn't disappear into the worst moment of her life. I thanked the neighbor, the EMTs, the nurses, the surgeons, the strangers who sent hope in envelopes. I said we would heal, one day at a time. And then we did. Healing wasn't a straight line. Some nights were all jagged edges. Some days were ordinary miracles, puffs of baby breath on my neck, a laugh that cracked the room open. I found a purpose in speaking, warning other women that evil sometimes puts on normal clothes and says it's here to help, telling them to trust the prickle on their arms, telling them that even when the worst does happen, there's a road forward, and you can walk it. A year later at the park, bubbles rose on a breeze, and Miracle toddled after them with a wobble that made strangers smile. I had a limp I didn't mind. My scars were softer pink now, less angry. I sat on a bench and felt simple, regular happiness land on my shoulders like sunlight. I picked her up and spun. We laughed until my stitches ached in sympathy with a pain I no longer carried. People ask how I moved on. I didn't. I moved forward. I carry what happened. It doesn't carry me. On hard days, I hold the hand of the life I chose. PJ, my daughter, the quiet practice of gratitude. On good days, I look at Miracle's eyes and see the proof that love outworks terror if you give it time and care. I still think of the neighbor's door opening, the moment when a man saw me as a person worth protecting. I think of the EMT tapping the fetal monitor, telling me my daughter's heart was strong. I think of a hospital team moving with the kind of urgency that says, "We are not done yet," that we will not lose you today. I think of PJ's trembling hands cupping mine when I woke. If you're listening because you need a reason to believe you can make it through something unthinkable, let my story be that reason. There is a future beyond the room you're trapped in. There is a window. There is a door. There is a neighbor. There is a siren. There are hands that will catch you when you fall out of the worst night of your life and into morning. My name is Teka. My daughter's name is Miracle. We are here. That's the ending, and every day we wake up and choose it again.
Thank you so much for spending time with this story. If it resonated with you and you'd like to hear more real-life survival tales, please tap the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It's a big help and lets me know you're enjoying this kind of content. I'd also love to know whose story you'd like me to cover next. Drop your suggestions and thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement keeps the channel alive, and I appreciate every single one of you for listening. Stay safe, and I look forward to sharing another story with you soon.